and welcome to Success at Scale, the podcast that covers business stories from experienced entrepreneurs and startup founders on how to translate business ideas into business results. I'm your host, Greg Stein, and today we're going to talk with Brandon Cooper, who's a good friend and co-founder and CEO of Aphid. Brandon has over 15 years experience in information technology marketing and over 6 years of technical support. He's a former senior technology advisor to Apple. I mean, this guy's done it all. Brandon specializes in artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, blockchain technology, and so much more. I'm so excited to talk to you today, Brandon. Thank you so much for being here. So why don't we just start by telling us a little bit about you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Very much appreciate it. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised, went to Michigan State University for marketing. Did 3 years. It wasn't for me. So one of the college dropout stories. And I moved to Georgia for a little while, and I worked for Apple for 7 years as a senior technology advisor, as you just mentioned. And, I got into computers when I was young. My uncle introduced me into computers when I was very, very young. But I just really put it in the back burner at that particular time. I did a lot of things in between, network marketing, things that really got me into self-development. But I'm a nomad kid, man. I moved around a lot as a kid, and here I am.
Nomad kid, college dropout, worked at Apple. I mean, you got a lot going on in there, man. Tell us more about how you went from being a nomad kid to working at Apple and doing all the things that you're doing now.
Yeah, Apple was a great experience for me. I learned it's a big tech company, right? And I mean, they pretty much dominate the smartphone market, right? Everyone has an iPhone, and to see how things happen behind the scenes gives you the introspective into how they run a company, right? And a lot of those things that I learned from, because I did hardware and software support. So I helped train people. I was a manager and things like that. So it was a great experience for me. But they were working me like a dog, man. And I just sat on my desk and I was like, man, would Elon Musk be sitting here? Would Einstein or Tesla be sitting here? And it was just time for me to go and take a leap. I've always been a serial entrepreneur at heart. And that's what led me to create Aphid, is how tired I was of working. And there are many, many Americans in the world who are tired of working. So created the company Aphid. And
tell us what Aphid is, what Aphid does, man. So curious.
Yes. So I'm a big analogy guy. If you've seen The Matrix, where Neo, he downloaded the fighting style when he didn't know how to fight.
Right.
We've invented a way for people to leverage digital bots to work on their behalf and download information and skill sets into a digital form, where now multiple versions of you can work on the internet to try to make you money. Because what happens is, in day-to-day lives, we work at a job, we clock in, we clock out, but this limits the amount of time and money that you can earn because you have to be there. But if you're putting yourself into a digital form, this now allows you to be omnipresent and allows you to be ubiquitous, where now you have 30 Gregs, 25 Gregs, 15 Gregs, all sitting in a queue waiting for a task. And you're basically sitting behind it to nurture it and to make it smarter over time. So it increases the chances of you making money. And the beauty about what we're building is you don't have to know any code. So all of these skill sets and these bots that I'm talking about, you'll be able to go to a marketplace and buy pre-existing bots from the developers that create them. And it's turnkey, plug and play. No tech experience is required at all for you to potentially earn money in the ecosystem, as well as save time.
So let's rewind again. How do you get into something like this, right? I mean, this is really flipped out stuff. I mean, and by the way, for anybody that's listening, 30 Gregs is frightening. Okay, that is absolutely frightening. Let's not do that. No, I'm just kidding. No, but how does something like this come about? And
Yeah.
Tell us kind of the story behind it.
Like any great musician, and I see you have a ton of equipment, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of great songs come from some type of pain or suffering or experience, not necessarily in a bad way, but just it could be a learning experience. It could be a failed relationship or whatever it may be.
True.
And in my particular case, that pain was not just my own pain, but people around me who, fought traffic and they're at home and two, three kids running around and they're doing homework. And before you know it, it's time to go to bed and you just rinse and repeat. And it's like, who's controlling all of his time?
Right.
And the average person spends 90,000 hours at a job over a lifetime. 90,000 hours.
That's nuts when you think
And
about it that way. Wow.
yeah, and no one has had the balls to try to disrupt the 9 to 5 workforce. And
Right.
since I was 19, I've always wanted to disrupt the 9 to 5 workforce. Because I remember being I kid you not, I was in second grade, just looking around at the other students, like, what are we doing here? And that's not a knock on school, but I just, when people just kind of, just get in line and just do what is in front of them and not really push the boundaries and question how things are done, we'll never be able to push forward. Because
Right.
I mean, if I showed, I love one of my quotes is, what's an iPhone to a caveman? If I showed a caveman an iPhone, or during the medieval times, they're like, off with his head, right? It would stone me to death.
Brilliant.
You creating something like television or radio,
Right.
controlling things. They look at it as witchcraft.
Right.
But we take those things for granted, in society today. So really, that came about from me working myself, and I was just tired, man. I took leaves, and it's not a knock. I think it's any company. It's a reason why people leave jobs every 3 years for the most part. Not that that's not the exact data, but just give or take. After about 3 years, people are kind of looking for the next thing, because there's no such thing as a good job unless you love what you do. Like if you're a teacher and you love to teach, that's a great job. But
Right.
if you're somewhere and you don't love what you do, that's not living life. You probably died a long time ago, even though you're living, but you're probably, you've been dead for a long time. So this is an awakening moment to give people their time back to figure themselves out, because people don't like the pandemic because it forced them to look in the mirror and say, who am I?
Right.
Who is my wife? Who is my husband? Who is my, right?
Right.
And people don't like that. They like the distraction, so they have an excuse to not go after their goals and dreams.
Yeah, no, that's spot on. I mean, listen, you got to look from within, first, right? And
Correct.
I think the pandemic definitely gave a lot of people this radical awakening of like, wait a second, hold on, what's really going on here? What am I really doing? What am I really about, right? Which in one respect, I mean, look, the pandemic's been a horrible thing for a lot of people, but in another respect, it's been great to see people wake up and really get down to their core of what they're trying to do and accomplish, right? So I hear you on that, man. Now, let me ask you this. We did a podcast not that long ago with a good friend, Jeff Forden, and he said, Aphid is the future of AI. Well, before we even get to that comment, right? Like, what's going on in the world of AI right now? And then what's the future of AI?
Yeah, right now there's Alexa and Siri. It's in terms of how customers are using it, they're used to it and they rely on it. Alexa's running in the house, play this song, and what's the weather. So that's our people are getting warmed up into AI, but the average person isn't really controlling how that AI is really working. It's working on its own from the development of said company. So if it's Apple or Siri, they're using that data to analyze it and say, okay, how do we make it smarter I didn't know the answer. How do I get to know it the very next time? So that's where we are in society right now in terms of AI. Everyone uses AI every day, but it's just not in front of your face outside of Alexa and Siri for the most part. And in the future, you can see with Amazon, they've put a lot of money and resources into the robotics of their warehouses, where everything in there um, is moving with these robots, and they have the humans in there, they have the people in there to help correct certain things. But for the most part, as more and more systems are built, there are going to be a lot of jobs that are going to be at stake, and it's alarming number. I mean, some people predict 800 million people could be affected by the year 2030, and these are large numbers when you think about it and what that looks like. So I think most things are going to be semi-supervised, or where you have people that are learning the machines and working the machines. Is what's going to happen. The very, very greedy companies, they're going to get as much research, because you got to think, we as people complain too damn much. Everything is about, I don't feel like coming in. There is no call in sick for a robot. And guess what said company thinks about that? That's perfect. That means I'm operating around the clock and I don't have to worry about it being sick. And if the machine goes down, then I can fix it. It's a lot cheaper. So that's, so what we're doing with Aphid is, I don't like using words like attempt or what we plan to do. What we are doing is disrupting that singularity event where robots take over completely. And I believe that robots have to take our jobs in order for us to get our time back. We just should get paid for the ones that we control. And that's the sauce for us over here in our backyard.
So Brandon, we talked about the future of AI, right? Aphid, as Jeff said, it sounds like it's the future of AI to me. Yeah. But how do you see companies, benefiting from and linking AI to machine learning and blockchain? Like, there's all these different technologies that are out there, but and even Web3 for that matter. How does it all kind of come together?
Yeah, everything really comes down to data, and it's in the data science realm, which is pretty foreign to a lot of people. But ultimately, the data or how machine learning and deep learning works, you can think of. So let me backtrack. AI is at the top, and then you have subsets. You have machine learning, and then you have deep learning. AI is the computer acting as if it's a human, but it's artificial. It isn't real. It's just what the programmer is told it what to do. So it's like, if this happens, then that happens, which is used in decision trees. And that's how you program on the AI level, but it's very, very limited at that level. And then machine learning is learning from data. So data is king. Data is the new oil. The companies are looking for is data. Advertisers, data. Companies who want to sell data to advertisers, that's what they're looking for. So machine learning is taking the data, analyzing that, and then spitting out some type of output. So computers learn from the information that's ingested to it. They have to turn it into text, and then they take that, and then whatever is programmed, it makes a decision. And a good example of machine learning could be, as I mentioned, like Alexa, and said, okay, what would you like instead? If you don't want Italian, do you want seafood? Now it's learning your behavior. So next time it's going to recommend seafood first over Italian, right? That's an example of machine learning. And then deep learning is very similar to the human brain, where we have neurons in our brain that are connected and talk to each other through synapses and everything. So deep learning is where it's more on autopilot. You can have machine learning on autopilot if it's unsupervised, meaning the human isn't behind it anymore. It's just learning from the data that's ingested to it. But deep learning is really getting to the roots of it and thinking on its own. And you can look at, there's a game called Go, and there has the most possibilities of any game that's been created. And the best players in the world playing Go can no longer beat the computer. It's become a supercomputer, and that was with Google and DeepMind of what they were doing during those trials. So it's now reached a point where as it continues to play the game, it's going to figure it out. And, whether it be Pac-Man or whatever you want to play, you won't beat a computer once it gets to a certain level. You mentioned about how companies are going to be integrating it. They're just looking for data. They're going to take that data and figure out how can we best monetize it. And
Yes.
Web three, I think the breakthrough for Web three is going to be in healthcare, real estate. Those are the industries that our companies are going to grasp to, I think, first. The metaverse and everything else is cool. Gaming has reached a new height now where people were made fun of for playing games all day, and now people are making 100 grand a month playing games. So they're not the corny nerd anymore. They're now the cool person who's making a lot of money doing what they love. So
Right.
it's interesting to see how times have changed.
Well, it's changing rapidly, which brings me to another really important question. I mean, you know, I don't care how much you know or don't know, you got to really stay on your game every day and be learning, right? I mean, it
Correct.
doesn't matter, how much you know or don't. And, so I guess where do you get more information? Where are you learning about things? And how do you stay up on the times on a daily, hourly basis?
It's technology is a very tough field because I mean, if you take 2, 3 months off and you come back, it's like, what in the hell's going on?
Right.
But yeah, books, you want to stay current too. I think there are a lot of great books that talk about the essence of the genesis of certain industries like machine learning and such, which are cool, but it's important to start modern for someone who's looking to learn in the books. And of course, there's a slew of information on the internet about machine learning, about deep learning. Google has a lot of different resources. We as at Aphid are working on our own learning academy that we're going to have in the ecosystem too, where people will be able to learn. So Mike on our team has our enterprise, and he's going to be putting that out really, really soon to get the resources for people so they don't feel as naked when they come into it and not as afraid.
I love it. I love it. So, all right, all right. So we talked all about work. I'm going to get personal for a second. How do you balance all of this? You're working hard, man. You're doing some great things, and you talked about burnout earlier, right?
Yeah.
But how do you avoid burnout in what you're doing now? I get that you love what you do, but how do
Yeah.
you avoid it? How do you find balance?
It's tough. It's really me personally. It's really in my blood. I have my days, of course. It's a roller coaster. No 2 days are the same. It makes you question your sanity because at 1 o'clock you're like, oh man, this didn't go through with this investor, and you're mad at God and all these different things. And then 3 o'clock you get a great call, and then something happens, and you're like, yay, life is wonderful. And you're like, yeah, you're psychotic.
Right, right.
Something's wrong with you. Um, but yeah, it's a balancing act. I know for me, I have a great team. I tell them leverage too. I say, listen, you don't have to do it to get it done. It's just about getting it done. And I always treat my team like partners and not as subordinates or employees. Of course, you have certain moments where you have to Bill Belichick it in the locker room and say kind of pull people aside and everything too. That's just a part of being the captain and the coach.
Right.
But time leveraging, using tools to manage things, and then knowing when to shut it off. I've had many years where I can go till 3 in the morning easy, like nobody's business. Like you're a machine man. But it's really about having that balance and exploring. I had when I was younger, I would work. I was doing some entrepreneurial things like network marketing, or whatever, but I didn't have any leisure time, and I did it in college. And I just didn't. Maybe I could have had a lot more fun then, but I sacrificed a lot. And then I understood as I got older to say, all right, well, go swimming, go travel, do these things in between. But when you do it, use it as a reward and a treat for hard work. So where you decompress and know how to turn it off. And if you don't recharge, and because you can sleep well, and there are people like Elon or whoever, they have 5-6 hours of sleep, and that no longer works for me. I do have my nights. If I need to stay up, I'll stay up.
No,
But
man, sleep is important. I mean, I
yeah,
hear all of this stuff like, these superhumans that they don't need sleep and, all these wacky things that they do. But let's just call a spade a spade. As
yeah,
far out there as this technology is, we are still humans, right? And we perform better when we sleep better, right? So to me, it's
Yeah.
you got to find that balance, I think.
Yeah. And I think sleep technology is something that really isn't talked about, but there are certain devices that people can wear on their wrist and it can wake them up at a certain time. So let's say you want to get up at 8. Getting shocked by an alarm clock is extremely unhealthy for your heart. I mean, it's like, going into shock, and you're getting shocked 5 days a week going to work. So over a course of how many years, right? You're working a long time, and retirement is really, really high. It's a lot different than it used to be. But yeah, sleep technology, meditation, and people understanding brain activity. I'm big on that too. So the neuroscience behind brain activity, like when your brain is in theta, your brain is in delta, alpha state, and then how to use binaural beats and certain things to change how your body feels or how your body is reacting, or what frequency you need to listen to for certain concentration. And I put my team on game about it too. And they've utilized some of these methods, and it helps them stay focused when they need to stay focused, or relax when they need to relax.
Genius. So look, man, it's a crazy time out there. It's really a crazy time. Things are changing rapidly. You're redefining the future of AI, as we talked about. But like, what kind of practical advice would you give to someone right now who's either struggling out there, or who is reinventing themselves, or redefining, or finding ways to thrive during these times? What kind of advice, just in the way that they operate or the way that they think about the world right now, would you give to them?
My advice would be, firstly, everything is an illusion. Time is an illusion. It's the reason why we don't see the time or clocks in our dream. It's just not real. We've created a lot of things as humans to make it seem like they're real, like laws and calendars. It, it helps us measure things, right? But ultimately, someone is man created in a way. So if you look at everything as an illusion and kind of look at it to where the world revolves around you, because it does. People say it doesn't, but I mean, once your power goes out, you're out of here and you see nothing. The world continues without you, but I mean, your world is, as far as we know, when you're out of here, you're out of here, right? But energy does pass on, and you might come back a goldfish or a duck. We don't know. Who knows?
A goldfish or a duck
Yeah,
would be nice. I'm not
yeah.
gonna lie.
I,
But I
I, I
hear
do
you.
I do believe the rich jerks definitely come back resurrected in third world countries as poor, um, karmic energy type of thing. So I'm a real big on energy, but the best thing a person can do that's struggling and having, it could be financial hardship or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You have to meditate, and if your energy isn't centered, it's like a magnet.
Yeah.
And right now, people have a dirty magnet that isn't attracting the right thing, or isn't attracting at all, because the magnet is dirty per se, right? So you have to like clean it through meditation. And once you've mastered your energy and balanced out your energy and your chakras and your body, then you will start to attract the things that will start to feel like things are falling in your lap. Um, but you have to learn how to turn things off. Social media can be a very bad thing, because you're balancing. We already have 70,000 thoughts in a day, and then you're adding on the people on social media to your brain, and you're trying to figure out why you have mental health issues. It's because you're taking in all of these thoughts, and now it's overwhelming your brain. And I'm sure a lot of different documentaries and books are going to be coming out really soon in the correlation of social media and mental health issues. I think that's really key. And then lastly, the company you keep, the circle. I mean, my circle is a lot of I'm in a different state than the circle I have. But I mean, I've been I'm in Los Angeles, so I'm really in a layer of on my own. I'm in my own realm right now, and it's allowed me to be the mad scientist like Nikola Tesla, and stay focused and do what I need to do.
See, that's really important. I think the word you keep using, though, if I'm not mistaken, it's the word focus. You've said it throughout the course of
Yeah.
our conversation today, and I think there's something to be said for that, right? Focus on people, focus on your karma, even focus on your the way that you work and the way you structure your day and your life and your meditation, even. I mean, all of this, it's about focus, if I'm not mistaken. Did I get that right?
Yeah, it's definitely about focus. And for business owners, it's a lot about stamina and endurance. You're trying to motivate a team who isn't or employees who aren't the creator of it. They're not going to wake up to the beat of the drum that you do, right? You created that company. You're going to have the most passion and excitement about it. A great leader can instill that vision in employees and in a team to keep them motivated to go because it's extremely hard. People have a lot going on at home, but I think endurance is really important for people because at the first sign of issues, there's no like conflict resolution for any of these problems that arise left and right, family members pulling you down or, subtle things that just there's so many those illusions that are distracting you from the actual target.
So what do you do when you get kicked down, right? You have a bad day, something breaks,
Yeah.
doesn't work the way it's supposed to, something just
Yeah.
doesn't work right. Like, what do you do? How do you get up off the mat?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. It depends on the day. Some days, it's my partner who's been a great crutch for me. Some days it could be just, man, let me just go spend time with my son. My son, he's 7.
There you go.
Take him to the
Beautiful.
park and things like that. I see the value in family and all of these things that I wanted 10 years ago. I don't have a care for them anymore. Um, because life it really is short, and the best thing you can do is just instill and inspire people. That's the most important thing to me is just talking to kids and telling them to go out there and leap, take risks. Talking to my friends and family, hey, take a risk. Don't play it safe, right? You'll bounce back, especially if you don't have kids. You really have to take risks. It's a lot harder to take risk when you have family to feed and certain things you can't do anymore. So that timing matters too.
Absolutely. So Brandon, let's go back to you. Your biggest passion, just in general, whether it's at work or at home, what's that? What's your biggest passion?
Creativity. I love inventing. Um, there's no shortage of inventions in my brain. I need to get a tinfoil hat.
I love I love it.
uh, I'm telling, but yeah, I mean, I wish I have some testimonies from people around me, and like I'll say something, and immediately the next day, I was just talking to my fiance about it, and I said, "Yeah, Toys R Us should do X, Y, Z, and blah blah blah," talking about like how they could come back and do it, and then the next day, boom, the story broke about how they want to put them in the I think the not
They're
Macy's,
Macy's,
but
right?
Macy's, yeah, I think
Yeah.
Macy's. It was just it was just the next day, and then I was talking about a blockchain phone. I was like, well, phones need to go here and need to have a smartphone, but it needs to be blockchain where the information is decentralized. Next day, Solana announced that they were coming out with the phone.
Wow.
So these type of things, but it's because of my magnet. I'm and this is I'm not an egotistical person. I'm talking about how I train my magnet is so intense. It's almost instant uh with things that happen around me. I have some stories, man. I don't want for time's sake, but yeah, some incredible stories of energy and the things I've been able to attract. And it can always go the other way too. It could go negative too if you have that particular vibration under the hood. Is what happens is what Bruce Lipton says is the subconscious is responsible for 95% of the show. The conscious is only responsible for 5%. So people have dream boards and all these things, and it never happens. Like, what's wrong? It's because it's subconscious. Everything that happened until you were about 7 years old has programmed pre-programmed your life of your vibration, like a tape recorder in the back. So the only way to reprogram it at night is to enter the theta state. It doesn't have to be at night. It could be in the morning, but it's in between when you're sleeping awake. Thomas Edison actually did this. He would have metal balls in his hand. He would fall asleep, and then the metal balls would fall into the pan and it would wake him up. And this modern day, you can use an alarm, but basically you keep yourself in between sleep and awake. And he said all of the answers are in that particular state. And it is the most profound thing I've ever heard, because you're not taught these things on subconscious and conscious, right? You don't know the game you're playing, and you're trying to figure out why things aren't working in your behalf, or why the certain part of the world controls all of the money and the resources, because they figured out the playbook, and they don't want you to see it.
Well, Brandon, I mean, you've gone so deep and so profound in this conversation. I mean, it's so awesome that you're able to join us today. I mean, everything from the future of AI to the power of focus to understanding the sleep and awake, path. And I mean, there's just so much here. I mean, to be honest, you got to come back. We got to go deeper on this. This has been just awesome. I love your energy. I love your clean magnet. And quite frankly, that force field around you is contagious and is pretty awesome. And I'm glad it brought us together today. But let me just ask you one last question. Where can listeners find you and Aphid online? How do we connect with you? How do we learn more?
Yeah, you can go to aphid.io. That's aphid.io, or you can do .ai, either one. We're on all social platforms, Discord, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. And then me personally is at Brandon Cooper. The Cooper is zeros, and that's Instagram and Twitter. I'm pretty active on Twitter and Instagram, as you can reach me out there too. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. Really, really enjoyed talking to you. For anybody that's listening, please like, share, subscribe. Success at Scale with Triple G Ventures. So happy to have you here. And until we see you next time, peace.